Yo, how are we all doing? Welcome back to Premier League Dad. We are live as we come to the end of transfer deadline day. I think we're going to have another couple of hours of absolute mayhem, to be honest, because it feels like we've not quite got all the deals over the line. All the deals that we thought would happen, mostly are happening. Mostly are happening. But all the deals that we some of the deals that I thought would be wrapped up by now still aren't wrapped up. Allegedly, what we're hearing is that Alexander Isak is done. It's done. It's completed. He is literally having his pictures. He's had his pictures tucked in the Liverpool shirt, and he's actually expected to fly to Sweden shortly. So, if nothing else, Alexander Isak is done. We're happy with that. That one's boxed. The complicated one for Liverpool is the Mark Gay one. That's the funny one. Yeah, that's the funny one. Mark Gay. Is Mark Gay actually going to get over the line? Because apparently there's rumours, as we've got 3 minutes and 15 seconds left of this transfer window, Mark Gay apparently may cost Oliver Glasner his job. Oliver Glasner is really deeply unhappy with Steve Parish for selling Mark Gay without really getting him a replacement. So it's not looking so good for Crystal Palace, for Oliver Glasner. And it's not great. But yeah, listen, I wanted to have a chat with you all today and see what we're all thinking about the transfers that have happened, the transfers that haven't happened. 2.5 minutes to go. We're getting the knick-knack. I always said Anthony was a £20 million player at best. I still really don't know what's happened with Anthony or what's going to happen with him. I know he's 20 million quid, but is he going to go and thrive again like we saw him do last year in Spain? Because I still think there's a player in there with Anthony. Knick-knack, nice transfer graphics. You must have spent all day doing that. I have pretty much, yes. I've spent a good chunk of time putting that. And then as I was doing them, other transfers were coming in. So I was like, I've not done all the ones that I wanted. Axel Disasi is staying at Chelsea. Raheem Sterling is also staying at Chelsea. Knick-knack, disaster for Palace if they lose Glasner. Morgan Rogers says Gay deal off. It's not off. It's not off. The Gay deal is not off. The transfer has been agreed. There you go. 13 minutes ago. We've been told the Mark Gay deal will go through. Crystal Palace do not want to let him go. Clarky, do you get your haircut? Well, yeah, of course I get my haircut. Everyone gets their haircut, don't they? Everyone gets their haircut. Sam, thank God Isak's gone. FM No Casual says, I'm worried about Leeds. Oliver Sims, Sunderland have signed Brian Brobby and Gertruda, which is good. I am recruited all the Geordies steering clear today. We'll see. But listen, the reason I wanted to do this... Hang on a second. Oh... Yeah, the reason I wanted to do this live was that we would have mostly everything sort of wrapped up by now. And I thought, well, then we can actually talk about what teams have done, what they haven't done. But it's still not. There's loads that still hasn't been quite agreed. But I actually wanted to have a talk about which teams have won the transfer window and which teams haven't. So I was going to score each team out of 10. I was going to see if you guys would help me out with it. And then we can make a decision on them. Gav's highlights, what do you think about Erik ten Hag being sacked by Bayer Leverkusen after just 2 games? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That seems like a sort of battle behind the scenes. That feels like a falling out. That feels like maybe something has happened. 2 games. You don't sack a manager after 2 games. Sam, hi mate. I think Wolves have had a poor window. Only incoming today is Arokadari. Yeah, Arokadari. But top scorer in the Belgian Jupiler League last year. He's a very, very good centre forward. I think he's someone that could help Wolves. I mean, you're definitely short of goals, aren't you? If nothing else. Knick-knack Parish wants to let him go. B. McCarran, don't know what is going to happen with Emi Martinez behind the scenes. This is it. The window's officially closed now. There you go. The window has slammed shut. However, feels like we've still got a little bit of time. Liam Manning, Brobby, wasn't he linked with United not long ago? Surely a good signing for Sunderland. I personally, I like Sunderland a lot, but I don't rate Brobby. I don't rate him at all. Nick, nice haircut, Keith. Cheers, lads. Thank you. I am Cruz, Javi Gallan to Forest has collapsed. Ryan, is Harry Wilson going to happen? Why? What's happening with Harry Wilson? I've not even seen Harry Wilson. Is Harry Wilson going somewhere? I thought Harry Wilson was... Where's he going? Oh, to Leeds. Nah, he's not going to Leeds. No chance. D28-3, ex-Manchester United manager sacked within 3 days. NUFC, the rat is gone. Yeah, but you've got Wisser through the door and you've got Voltamada through the door. Is that good value for Newcastle? Because I was thinking about this. Right, Newcastle have actually only spent net spend this window of about 30 million quid. That's not really an investment, that, is it? If you're going to really try and kick on and challenge, 30 million quid doesn't feel like an investment. And that's obviously assuming that Will Osula does end up going, which I'm pretty confident that he will by the end of the window. Michael, great window for Liverpool. Getting Gay was the biggest surprise, as I thought Palace would keep hold of him for the remainder of the season. Nick Nack, Wolves have arguably been the most decimated through sales too. That's very true. Yeah, Wolves have had a really poor summer transfer window in terms of sales. That's very, very true. Gav's highlights also, mate. What do you think about Chelsea's £70 million obligation to buy for Jackson with Bayern? I think, isn't it 50? Well, from what they were saying on here before, it's a 14 million euro or 40. No, it might be 14 million pound. I think because it was about 80 million euro in total. 14 million pound loan fee, with a £56 million obligation. So it's a 70 million total with everything included, loan and the and obviously then if Bayern get to the end of that loan and they decide not to take him, then or if he doesn't meet the criteria, then there's a penalty. But I fully expect he will go to Bayern, and yeah, 70 million feels like a really good fee for Chelsea. Nick Nack, what did Liverpool spend last summer? Very little. I think we spent £12 million on Federico Chiesa, so that was it, and we finished third in the league, and we was close to winning it at the end. Sam, is it done? Is it Mark Gay? Here we go. Well, we don't know just yet. We don't really know just yet. Let me just see where we're up to with Mark Gay, because my understanding is that yes, he is going to be a Liverpool player, but I don't know. What do you think? Is it going to happen? What happens if it doesn't happen? Arab Joe, what are you watching? Transfer deadline day, mate. Reese, I'm bored of today. Liam, apart from Liverpool, surely Spurs had one of the best windows. Kolo Muani to Spurs feels like such a good signing, doesn't it? Is that not like... I'm really, really surprised that Newcastle didn't go in for him. There you go. 7 seconds ago, Crystal Palace have confirmed the signing of centre-back JD Canvo on a 4-year deal from Toulouse. So that's one done for Palace. They have at least got a centre-back in. Axel Disasi staying at Chelsea. And Liverpool have 10 minutes to submit a deal sheet for Mark Gay. Gay is still in London after completing his medical to join Liverpool. Liverpool must have signed the deal sheet, submitted by 7 PM. So hopefully we have done that will allow them more time until 9 to fully complete the move. So if we haven't submitted a deal sheet 4 minutes ago, then Liverpool haven't actually signed Gay. That would be so frustrating. Would be incredibly frustrating. Manchester United managing to get Rasmus Højlund out of the club as well feels like a good move for them, doesn't it? Højlund out, 44 million quid, something like that, if they get him. Josh Brownhill off to Saudi. Good lad, well done him. NUFC, they got Igor from Brighton. West Ham. Kolo Muani, Simons and Paulinho. Got to be a good window for Spurs, surely, yeah. I am Kroot, Ben Chilwell gone to Strasbourg. That whole thing between Chelsea and Strasbourg stinks. That is literally them just going, let's get him off our books. We can put him onto... He's still within our group, but we're just going to send him to Strasbourg to get him off our books. So it's a paper exercise. I actually don't imagine Chilwell plays any football for Strasbourg. I'd be amazed if he does. Archie, Everton have just signed Merlin Roll from Freiburg. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate that. Using not found, brilliant signing from Spurs. Villa got good loan moves. Well, they've got Harvey Elliott, which is a permanent one. I'm actually quite sad to see Harvey Elliott go. But listen, let's get stuck in. Let's get stuck in so far. Gay best get done, says Ben. If we haven't done a deal sheet, we'd make ourselves look daft. Well, mate, come on. Again, why would we make ourselves look daft? If Gay hasn't got done, it's because Crystal Palace have dallied. It's not because we've dallied. It's because Crystal Palace have dillied and dallied and said, no, I don't think we'll be able to, or whatever. It's nothing to do with Liverpool, that. It's Palace who've kind of backed out of it at the last minute. So if Liverpool haven't got it done, I haven't really got a problem with that. We've managed to get Isak over the line. We've kept Joe Gomez. I'd have been more than... If someone had said to me at the start of, let's say, before yesterday's Arsenal game, you'll sign Isak, but you'll maybe have to wait for Gay, I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine. D28, Jadon Sancho also going to Villa. Yeah. Jadon Sancho... there's still a player in there, isn't there? How can he actually get it done? How can he actually turn his career around? Do we think there's a chance for Jadon Sancho at Villa? 3-star Reds, evening Key. So the Rat finally did sign for Liverpool in the early hours of this morning. Why? Hang on a minute. Why are you calling him a rat now? Isak is not a rat. Let's roll that back. Isak's not a rat. He's dealing with a club who's behaved like a rat. Tom, up the toffees. NUFC, what window Newcastle have had since we were the laugh of the summer at the start? What a window. How are we saying Newcastle have had a good window? Really? You spent 30 million quid. Net. It's not a great window. Feel like, and to be fair, you actually would have broke even if not for Will Asula going to Stuttgart. Gav, I thought Gay was off because Palace can't get a replacement. Am I right? As I write that, you say that. Yeah, no, I think Palace are going to allow Gay to move. It's just whether or not Liverpool have managed to submit the deal sheet by 7 PM, by that deadline, and then that gives us 2 more hours to get it done. Jake, 66 million net. It's not. It's not according to this. £209 million spent. Oh, sorry, £209 million in, and about £240 million out. Yeah. Walter Mada, Wissa, Thiago, Elanga, Ramsey, and Ramsdale. Well, Ramsdale back up. Elanga, Wissa. How many of them go straight into your starting 11? Liam Manning, 35 mil for Elliott for Villa. I would have loved him at Leeds. Yeah, great player, Harvey Elliott. Callum the Red, Isak, the Reds are winning it all. Nick Nack, Gomez is staying though. Well, yeah, Joe Gomez is definitely staying. But I think there's possibly a way he leaves in January. I think Joe Gomez was pretty relaxed about staying. I am crew. Newcastle have spent 200 million on Elanga, Wissa, and Voltemada. Just feels like Newcastle. I'm not entirely sure whether or not that is a good window for them. FM No Casuals, no one is bigger than Newcastle United, Key. Well, apart from the King of Saudi Arabia. Did you see Luke Edwards this morning? Basically called out the Newcastle owners and said it's absolutely disgusting if they sell Alexander Isak to Liverpool after all this. They've gone through all this and then they suddenly sell Liverpool Alexander Isak. They were adamant that they weren't going to do it, according to Luke Edwards. And yeah, he was basically calling them out. So might be getting an invitation to the Turkish embassy soon before long if he's not careful. Sean McCann says, deal sheet submitted for Gay. Yes, there you go. Deal sheet submitted. Get in there. 3-star Reds, 270 million spent by Forest this summer, and our manager is not happy. I don't think he's not happy because of how much you've spent, though. I think it feels like he's being forced players upon him, if anything. Alex Macklin, any news on Isak? Yeah, apparently he's done his pictures. He's done his pictures in his shirt. That's where he's been at Anfield now. Gru looking sharp, Kee. I was there today, mate. That's where I went today. What am I looking at? Gav, we just sold Ben Chilwell to ourselves. He's going to Strasbourg. Hi, Kee. How you doing, mate? I'm doing good, Madawan. How are you? Good to see you. Joe, can't wait for the new Peter Crouch and Defoe. I think Kolo Muani would have been a better signing than Wissa. Kolo Muani's a far, far better player than Wissa. He's cheaper. He's two years younger, cheaper. Better goals per game record, better goals per minute, assists per minute. He's played at a higher level, loads cheaper. He would have been a much, much better signing than Wissa. Surprised that Newcastle didn't go in for him. Rube says Luke Edwards is a snake. Sean, it's crazy how Liverpool have a lower net spend than Arsenal. Paul, where have you been, pal? Well, I've been working on some bits, let's just say that. I've been working on some stuff today. Wim, how's it going, Wim? Well, listen, while the window's shut now, let's go through each team, right? Let's go through each team and let's do an objective scoring, right? Let's do a scoring on exactly how this... Do you know, I wish I'd have took that board off. So annoying. Let's do a scoring of every single team, right? So let's start off. Let's do Arsenal. Ronnie Dodge, I'm happy we got Lamans then Martinez. I agree. I think Lamans is a better signing for United. Right. So let's turn that off for the kick-off, right? Let's turn that off. And I'm going to put up one at a time. We're going to do each team's ins and outs. Okay? So let's put them up on the screen. If you want to go to YouTube, you want to see the team's ins and outs and all that sort of thing, then you can do that. But yeah, I just wanna see what we would each make of these ins and outs, I guess, right? So let's deal with that, right? So Arsenal have spent £293 million. And they have sold 8 million quid's worth of players. So they've got a good old net spend there, Arsenal. They've invested an awful lot. Simon, did Liverpool actually submit a deal sheet? Yes, I believe so. And Arsenal, with those signings, what out of 10 would we be rating that? Because I think looking at Zubamendi, Eze, Gyökeres, Madueke, Mosquera, Norgard, Kepa, and then obviously Hincapié, which is a loan technically, but I think it's a £55 million obligation next summer. But it's still, he's in on loan either way. So that to me doesn't feel like it's enough to get Arsenal over the line, does it to you? It's not a bad window, but I think in the context of Arsenal needing to win the title, I would give that a bad window. I think if you was going into this and you said to Arsenal fans, that's what you're going to end up with, before the summer, I am almost certain Arsenal fans would have been furious with that. Because that's not a game-changing window. It isn't. I don't care what they say. Gyökeres is not a centre-forward that drives Arsenal to the title. Isak has gone in this window. I think they could have gone and got other centre-forwards around Europe who might have been able to help and push on. Osimhen, for example. Alvarez, for example. Both of those would have maybe been title-winning centre-forwards. So I would go with... I'm going to go 6 out of 10 for Arsenal's window. Because they've spent a lot of money to not really improve all that much. Yeah. I'm going to go 6 out of 10. Arsenal are getting a 6 out of 10. Given their objectives, they haven't actually kicked on an awful lot. So I would say I'm going to go 6 out of 10 for Arsenal. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you agree. It doesn't look to me as... No, Callum Hincapié is a good player, to be honest. He is. Hincapié is a very good player. They happily had Hincapié at Liverpool. I guess what I'm saying is, based on where that team was at the end of last season, and what they came into this summer thinking, right, we've got a summer here to absolutely try and dominate the Premier League. Try and take. They should have had the summer that Liverpool have just had. They've somehow spent more than Liverpool. They spent more than Liverpool and done worse. And arguably they had less to do. So I feel like Arsenal have stepped, maybe not stepped backwards, but they've kind of stayed the same. They've just kind of stayed the same. I think 6 out of 10 for Arsenal. And I don't think it actually takes them forward any further. So I would go with 6 out of 10. Jamie Berry, nice background, bud. Cheers, man. It's not a background. It is actually real. It's a proper shirt. It's like, I'm not, it's not a green screen. Romano has confirmed that a gay deal sheet was submitted. That's brilliant. Sean McCann, what time do you reckon Isak is announced? Well, apparently, I'm led to believe he's already on his way to the airport. He's about to fly to Sweden because he's about to meet up with the Swedish national team tonight. And he's getting on a plane, flying to Sweden. That's like, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours up to Stockholm or wherever they're meeting. I don't know. Although they're away, aren't they? They're in Slovenia. They're playing Slovenia this week. But obviously he'll go and meet. He's meeting with the national team tonight. Jon Dahl Tomasson confirmed it. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see exactly where Alexander Isak, or when Alexander Isak's announcement is made. I would imagine it's sometime later tonight. So, yeah, I'm going to go Arsenal 6 out of 10. Let's go the next one. Let's move on, because I do want to get through all of these. So, next is Aston Villa. Okay, so Aston Villa. Harvey Elliott in, Evan Gesand in, Jadon Sancho in, Victor Lindelof in, Marco Bizzo. They spent 70 million quid. Euros these. Sorry, I should say. These are prices in euros. And then Jacob Ramsey sold, Kessler Hayden, Leon Bailey out on loan. They've not really lost any first-team players, have they? Jacob Ramsey I wouldn't consider a first-team player of Villa's. They've brought Harvey Elliott in. Jadon Sancho probably starts a lot. Victor Lindelof probably starts a lot. And I would imagine Gesand gets his first share as well. But I'd still say Villa have made a setback that I thought they would go. I thought they'd do better. So by the same logic as Arsenal, I would say Villa have downgraded. I'd say, I don't want to give them 5 out of 10, but I think maybe, because we're kind of influenced by how they've started the season. I'll go Aston Villa. There's a couple of decent signings in there with Elliott. I think Victor Lindelof might not actually be a terrible signing for him, just in terms of experience and everything. They need some of that at the back. I go 5.5. Aston Villa, I'm going to give a 5.5 out of 10. It's not a great window. In fact, you know what? No, I'm going 5. I'm not doing any of this 0.5 nonsense. Commit. It's either a 6 or it's a 5. They are a 5. Villa 5 out of 10. I agree. Right, so there's Villa. Now let's do... Who's next on the list? Next up is AFC Bournemouth. Bournemouth. What do we think with Bournemouth? They've brought in Bafo Diakite, centre-back, Ben Doak. Both of those got took off in the Cup against Brentford. Didn't start tremendously well. But Diakite is the big defensive signing to replace Zabarnyi and Hyson. They've brought in Petrovic, the goalkeeper from Chelsea, to replace Kepa Arrizabalaga. Amin Adli, again, he could have got sent off in midweek against Brentford. Didn't play all that well against Spurs, I didn't think. The one bright shining light in that has been Adrian Truffert at left back, who's replaced Kirkes. Thought he was terrific. But yeah, Liam, that's a great point. Keeping hold of Semenyo, I am Crute saying it as well. Keeping hold of Semenyo is massive for Bournemouth. So I think given the outs, if you look at how much they've actually spent, they've spent 123 million euros and they've brought in 237. So they've still made a profit of about 120 million euros. I would have liked to have seen them invest a bit more of that. But given where they are as a club, I still think Bournemouth probably finish just outside those European places, 9th, 8th or 9th. They're still a very good side. We saw them go to, go and win at Spurs this weekend. What a result that was. So again, I would go with, I don't feel like it's, I'd go 6. Yeah, I'd go 6. I agree. 6 out of 10. Not a bad window at all. Could have got worse. Lost a lot of players, but they've brought some quality in, and it feels like they'll still push on. So yeah, relatively content with how Bournemouth have done there. Next up, so Brentford. We have got Dango Ouattara in. Anthony Malambo, who looked completely out of his depth against Forest a few weeks ago, I've got to say. But Michael Coyote, the fullback, what a signing he's been. Kelleher. I love him. I really love him. But he was pretty poor against Sunderland the other day. Jordan Henderson, I think he's a very good signing. And they've just brought Reece Nelson in on loan as well from Arsenal. So, Paul Hexam, Brentford for relegation. No! I still don't think Brentford get relegated. I like Brentford a lot. Disappointed with them this weekend against Sunderland, but I think Brentford will be okay. Dango Ouattara, a really, really solid signing. So, again, given they've lost Wissa, they've lost Mbermo, they've lost their captain Norgard. They've not really spent an awful lot of money. So I would go with 5. No. Yeah. 5 out of 10. It's not a brilliant window. Again, so we've gone 6-5, 6-5 so far. Let's keep going. Next up, Brighton. Brighton just feel like you've had 20 players come in every window. It's always the same with Brighton. I am Crute, they made a move for Bayer as well, didn't they? Shows good ambition for January. That's true. Timbo Slice, all right, Key. If the Gay deal falls through, you can have the Sassy if you want. You're all right, mate. Thank you. D28, William Asula's £30 million move from Newcastle to Frankfurt appears off. No. Oh, I've included him in Newcastle's outs as well. I thought they were going to get that done. Oh, that'd be a shame. Newcastle fans will fall to bits if that one doesn't go through. Timbo Slice, could I tempt you with a baddie shield? You're all good, Chief. So, Brighton. Here we go. Brighton have got Kostulas. We're still yet to see anything of Kostulas. And also the young lad who they brought in. I think did they sign him in like February and left him out there on loan in Nuremberg. Seamas. Scored a couple in midweek against Oxford in the Cup. Tom Watson, we know he's a good player. Watched him in the playoff final for Sunderland. And Olivier Buscagli at the back. I don't mind Brighton's window. They've sold João Pedro, Adingra, and Ciso. You know, they've made good money yet again. Estupinan out, Barco, Lamptey. They've made 150 million euros and actually only spent about 80. So, yeah, you look at it and think, great work by Brighton yet again. It's fantastic stuff, but what would we score him in terms of actually helping Fabian Hürzeler kick on? Is that 5? Is that another 5 out of 10? Don't think about where Brighton are as a... You see, Callum, you've just said 8 out of 10 because they beat City. Let's not think where they are. Let's think about the window. Let's think contextually where they were last year. Has this window helped push Brighton on? I don't think it has. I don't think it has. I think Brighton... You go into a transfer window looking at it as an opportunity to retain your best players... And add new ones if you can. Add some good ones. Add quality. Improve the squad. You want to be going into a transfer window, or rather, you want to be coming out of a transfer window better than you went in. Surely. Now, are Brighton objectively better than they went in? Or even, well, subjectively, whatever way you want to look at it. Are they better than when they went in? I don't think they are. I think Brighton are probably one of the few who might have had a bad window. The Kuiper's not a bad signing. I like the Kuiper. Time will tell with Kostulas. Time will tell with Seamas and Watson. Coppola looks a good signing. Buscagli looks a good signing, but we haven't seen enough of them yet. I feel like they're a good side anyway. That explains the result against City, Callum. The fact that they won doesn't mean it was a good window. Just me, at least not in my eyes anyway. I just think they're a good team, Brighton. And City were a bit crap. City were naff. So... I'm going to go 5 out of 10 for Brighton. I think that was a middling window. A middling window. I don't know if they've come out of that window better than they went in. But hey, let me know if you disagree. I'm happy to be swayed on that one. Let's go on to the next team, which is Burnley. Now, Burnley, yeah, keeping Belaber is key. That's very true. I was going to say they've kept hold of some of the players that maybe you would have thought they might get pinched as well. So I think, yeah, Belaber's a good one to have kept. I still think Minter. There's a real player in Yankuba Minter. I saw him terrorise Everton. Admittedly, it's only Everton, but he terrorised Everton. He did really well in that game. So yeah, Burnley. Burnley have spent 126 million and actually only sold about 35 million euros worth, which is pretty much just James Trafford to City. They lost Egan Riley for free, they lost Josh Brownhill for free, and they've gone out there and brought in the likes of Ugachukwu, Broja, Chelsea cast-offs. They've gone and got a load of big team cast-offs. Kyle Walker, bad signing in my opinion. Ugachukwu, Broja, bad signings in my opinion. Dubravka, not a bad one in goal. Obviously, Dubravka's come in for free. That's probably one of the few that I rate. But Marcus Edwards, Bashir Humphreys, Jakob Brun-Larsen, Zion Fleming, these are all signings that scream championship to me. So the context of Burnley's window has to be based upon, do we think they're likely to stay up after that window? And I think the answer is no. The answer has to be no. So I'm going to go with 4 out of 10. I think that's a really bad window for Burnley. They needed more, and they haven't got more. They've signed a lot of good young players, though, by the way, I will say. Like, you know, Hartman's not a bad player, and there's an argument that Chown is not a bad player at all. I like him, but I feel like that's a real problem for Burnley this season. So I've given 4 out of 10. Let me know what you're thinking with that one. Daniel, no Cardiff signings today. Shocking. Gabe, Seattle won the League Cup last night. Yes, I know. Beating Inter Miami as well. Timbo Slice, I don't think Burnley are asked about staying up, to be fair. They're just happy to yo-yo. D28, Dele Alli has terminated his contract with Como. Liam Manning, Newcastle didn't want him to leave, and you can see why. Right, well, here we go. Let's go on to the next one. Next team, after we've done Burnley, is Chelsea. Now, Chelsea's window's an interesting one because they've spent 325 million and they have brought in 395 million, including the 80 million euro sale of Nicholas Jackson that we've just seen in the last few hours get ratified to Bayern Munich. So João Pedro, Gittins, Garnacho, Hato, Delap, Esteval, the main ins. They've still brought some other ins, but mostly they are the ones that are going to feature in the first team. Esteval, Delap, Hato, Garnacho, Gittins, and Pedro. Thoughts? I get a lot of criticism. Funnily enough, you're not going to believe this, but one of our regulars on this channel absolutely lost his head and started calling me horrendous things, horrendous names, really personal stuff. Ended up taking it too far, and yeah, they're no longer welcome on the channel. But that was really just because I said I didn't think Chelsea were going to win the league this season. I thought Chelsea weren't going to win the league, and the argument back was that they've improved massively. But I still look at that defence and I just don't see it. I don't see it. Chelsea's defence, they've lost Colwill to a big long injury. They've not replaced the goalkeeper. We all know Robert Sanchez, for me, is as much of a problem as Onana was at United. They needed a goalkeeper. They needed a strong centre-back to come in and really nail down that position. It feels like Chelsea have got 3 or 4 centre-backs, or basically 5 or 6 now. They've got Disasi, Badiashile, Champong, Fofana, Chalobah. they got loads of centre backs, but none of them really that can, nail. None of them are their starting centre back. They're all a bit all over the place. And then you've got Sanchez behind him, Gusto on the right, Reece James whenever he's fit, fine, but that's not a championship winning team, and I think that's a middling window again. I'm going to say 6 out of 10. It's a window where I don't feel like Chelsea have really improved all that much, but they have probably cemented 4th. They hung on to 4th just last year. 4th was like they got it just on the final day of the Premier League last year, playing Nottingham Forest on the final day. They just about got it over the line, and then they've done this whole thing this summer. It feels like they'll definitely get 4th this year, but no higher. So 6 out of 10 for me for Chelsea. That would be my score. Again, let me know in the chat what you're thinking. Let me know if you disagree, and I'll read them out. We'll come to it. Next up, Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace. I've put Mark Gay on there. We don't actually know yet if Palace have got Gay, and I've also I didn't add in Canvot, JD Canvo. JD Canvo. It sounds French, doesn't it? JD Canvo from Toulouse. So, yeah, JD Canvo for Toulouse has signed for Palace as a direct replacement for Mark Gay, assuming Mark Gay does actually leave. A deal sheet has been submitted for Mark Gay. We will see over the next maybe 30 minutes or so whether or not he's actually signed for Liverpool or not. But Palace have signed JD Canvo. He is the replacement. If we look at Palace's window as they've brought Pino in, Sosa, Canvo and Benitez. They are the 4 signings they've made, and they've lost Eze, Gay. I don't know if that's I think that's a poor window. Empty Pino is a steal. I think it's a 6. I like the signing of Pino. I really do like the signing of Jeremy Pino, but you can't lose Eze and Gay and just get Jeremy Pino in. And Canvo, again, a young centre-back. I think they've got worse. Sadly, I think if you're a Palace fan, and that's the reason Glasner's upset. The reason that Glasner is unhappy, let's remember, is because he doesn't feel like he's got adequate squad reinforcements. They've basically sold 115 million euros worth of talent, and they've brought in maybe 50 million euros worth. So there's like a 60, 70 million net profit for Palace, which after the season they've just had, you would have thought that would have been a big opportunity for Palace, where Parish would go, I'm going to throw so much money at this, I'm going to pull some levers, I'm going to try and invest more, because we're in Europe now, I want to see us, really throw some money at this. And he's just not done it, have they? So I'm going to go for, I think that's a 4 out of 10. I think Palace have had up there with Burnley as one of the worst windows. And I really like Palace. I like Palace, I like Glasner, but I'm going to put that as a 4 out of 10. Bad window. It's Euros, Edward. So here we go. So if we switch that one out for, who's next? Everton. Here we go. So Everton have had a decent window, haven't they? I don't think it's been amazing. I still think there's a couple of signs. Apparently they're about to sign Merlin Roll from Freiburg, which again is probably not the type of signing they needed. They needed a right back. They needed a defensive midfielder. They needed something in midfield. But I don't know if it's... Timbo's saying an 8 for Everton. Georgie's saying 10 out of 10. 10? How is it a 10 out of 10? Again, I'm looking at Everton and thinking that feels like... maybe a 7. Maybe a 7. It's better than I thought it was. Yeah, it's better than... there's Jack Grealish coming in, I think, is admittedly only on loan. He's not a bad signing. But they're still very, very light. So I don't know. I'm kind of teetering between a 6 and a 7. They've done okay. Quality coming in with Grealish and Diblin and Barry. Not bad. Yeah. There's already talk of them moving Alcaraz on. But they lost a lot of players. So, yeah, 6 out of 10, maybe 7 out of 10. Let's go 7. I'll go 7. I'll be kind. Even though they'll call me a cop-out gobshite, I'll say 7 out of 10 for Everton. Which, up to this point in the list, puts Everton as having the best transfer window in the alphabet of the Premier League. Boniface went to Werder Bremen. Nice. Timbo, Everton needed good attackers and they've signed them. They also need defence though, mate. They really needed defence in midfield. They've lost so many players. Right. So Everton, we've gone for 7 out of 10. In my humble opinion. So next up, Fulham. Now, Fulham have made a couple of late signings, I believe. They have signed Kevin and... Kevin and Tyreek George, or what do they call him? Is it Evil Saka they call him at Chelsea? Is it Evil Saka? Reese, please tell me you didn't give Arsenal a bad window, Key. I said you'd done 6 out of 10. United forever, have you done United yet? I've not done United, no. I'm working my way through alphabetically. So I've just done Everton. Everton have got 7 out of 10. I'm now on Fulham. Right now, as I understand it, Fulham have signed Kevin from Shakhtar for 35 million quid. They've also signed Tyreek George from Chelsea for 22 million quid. So not bad at all. And they've actually only lost Andreas Pereira. Empty, 4 like the late signings, but being boring for 2 months deducts some points. Knick-knack for the team like Fulham, keeping the team together as a result. I was going to say, yeah, I'm kind of along them lines as well, Knick-knack. I think that's probably a fair thing to say, is that for Marco Silva, it was just about stability, keeping hold of some of those players and just going again. They have got some quality in there. Obviously, Rodrigo Muniz, they were gonna go and get. Atlanta was going to bid for him, weren't they? Did they sign? I don't think they did sign him. Oh, they have signed Chukwueze. So they've signed Chukwueze and Kevin. So they haven't signed Tyreek George then. Has Tyreek George gone through? Tell me they've not signed 3 wingers on the last day. They actually have. They've signed 3 wingers on the last day. Fulham have signed Tyreek George, Kevin, and Chukwueze. Talk about width. Maybe Marco Silva's thinking of changing some things up. So yeah, there you go. I have not added Chukwueze into that list. So a great deadline, you'd have to say, for Fulham. Kevin's going to be an interesting one. Feels like he's got a reasonable... See, I haven't watched an awful lot of him, but it feels like at 35 million quid, you would expect that to be a player who goes straight into their lineup anyway. Tyreek George and Chukwueze maybe less so. But interesting from Fulham. So I would give Fulham, again, a 6 out of 10. It's not a bad window. Not a lot of action, but okay. They've got rid of Andreas Pereira. They've brought those 3 in. That's pretty good going for Fulham. Who's next? 6 out of 10 for Fulham. Next up, I would have... Who've we got? Leeds. Here we go. Leeds. Now, Liam in the chat will want to be talking about Leeds. Yorkshire Red not really seem like panic buys apart from Kev. Well, do you know what? They were looking at Sterling on loan, and they've ended up obviously speaking to Chelsea about Tyreek George. Maybe the salary for Sterling was a little bit too much. I feel like that's not a bad signing for Fulham. Tyreek George is a decent enough player. Ostermorg, Chukwueze, awful at Milan, but maybe he can get his Villarreal form back. That's true, yes. Knick-knack, something Wolves, Bournemouth, Brentford couldn't do. Exactly, yeah. Hanging on to your best players is underrated as part of transfer windows. So, Fulham 6 out of 10. Here we go, Leeds. So, Leeds only really lost Christensen and Greenwood. They are the only players they ended up selling this transfer window. But they brought in a lot of players. Anton Stack, Noah Okafor, Jakob Bijol, Lucas Perry, Sean Longstaff, Goodmanson, James Justin, Sebastian Bornau, Calvert-Lewin, of course, and Lucas Nemecha. So, £113 million spent and £8 million euros, £8 million. No, it is euros. €8 million sold. So Leeds, for me, how good are these players that Leeds have signed? it feels like they've just kind of threw everything at it. It feels like they're throw enough shit and see what sticks. There's not a lot of quality in that Leeds squad, in my opinion, as well. Liam Manning says 4 or 5, I'd say. Paul Hexham, Leeds relegated. Reece says 3.4 out of 10. Net spend of 56 million, brought in 6. Who's that, Dan? Sorry, who are you saying, Dan? Dan, ended up a good window, I would say, for Newcastle. We're coming up to Newcastle in a minute. We're scoring every team out of 10. Every team's transfer window out of 10. So yeah, but Leeds, I would say it's been a tough all window. I think if we're scoring it based on whether or not they'll stay up, I think it's got to be a 4, hasn't it? I'd say it's a 4. Oh, Dan, don't apologise at all, Dan. No, you don't have to apologise, mate. It's fine. Everyone just piles in. It's all good. Leeds, I'd go 4 out of 10. And that feels a little bit harsh, but I do think they're going to struggle this year. So, and it feels like they've maybe missed a little bit towards the end. And if we're giving Palace a 4 and we're giving Burnley a 4, I think Leeds have to get a 4 as well. So, yeah. Leeds, I would give a 4. Next up is my team, Liverpool. Knick-knack 4 seems a bit harsh. I think if we could give 4.5, I'd maybe give 4.5. I guess they've got half a chance of staying up, but I still don't think they do, no. MT, the guy saying Fulham is great for hanging on, is wrong because they don't seem to have much players bigger teams want. Only Robinson, but he's a bit older, and Rodrigo Muniz. They still hung on to him, though. Steve McNair, I like how Man United waited till the last day to sell all the rejects so they can't use any of the money till January. Well, listen, let's go Liverpool. We're on to Liverpool now. Right, so Liverpool have sold 260 million euros worth of talent, and they have bought 530 million euros in. So that's 270 million euros net spend, which, believe it or not, is less than Arsenal this year. Less than Arsenal in this summer window, Liverpool have invested. And that's why I feel like I have to give Arsenal a 6 out of 10, because look at how much Liverpool have improved inevitably by using that money in the right way, by selling well, by getting rid of the likes of Kwanzaa, Doak, Kelleher, Elliott, academy players in a lot of cases, and then also the likes of Núñez and Diaz, who, weren't really ever going to cut it for Liverpool, sadly. So, well, I say that's maybe the other way around. Diaz was very good for Liverpool. He was a fabulous player. He just wanted more money than we were prepared to pay him. Núñez maybe wasn't ever going to cut it at Liverpool in the way that we hope that Isak will. But in terms of ins, you really can't argue with that. Isak, Vert, Ekatike, Gueye, Kirkez, Frimpong, and then obviously the young lad Leone. It just feels like Liverpool have improved so much in every single aspect, and I've never encountered another window like that in my lifetime. I don't know any other window, not just for Liverpool, I'm not being biased. Can anyone name me another window where teams have really, really won it? And it's just, I'm not sure I can remember one. I really can't remember one. I would invite you to all say it. Gav, has the Mark Gay deal collapsed, Key? I saw on X it's collapsed. Well, no, not as far as I'm aware. Apparently a deal sheet has been submitted. Ornstein. Oh, no. Mark Gay won't join Liverpool. Ultimately, Palace hasn't found the replacement. Oh, no. No. Oh, that's so grim. Oh, that is gutting. That is absolutely gutting. That best not be the case, that. That's so harsh. Unlucky. Ah, well, listen, we'll get him in January, or maybe in the summer for free. That's a real shame. But it's okay. We've still got Joe Gomez at the back. I'm still happy with that. We didn't let Joe Gomez go for this exact reason. There was always likely to be an issue. And I think, do you know what? We talked about this earlier with the idea that maybe Glasner was threatening to leave. It was mooted before that Oliver Glasner was threatening to leave Crystal Palace. based off this summer transfer window, based off how bad it had been and based off the owner not backing him. And he was furious at the idea that Mark Gay was going to leave the club without them having got a replacement. So I can't really say I'm too shocked. I was hoping it would go through anyway. But sadly, it doesn't look like it's got over the line. So we'll have to take Mark Gay out of there. What a shame. Joe Gomez will have to go back in there as our number 4 centre-back. And hey ho, it's all good. We'll see Canate. We'll waive Canate off for free to Real Madrid, no doubt. And then we'll bring Mark Gay in for free. So he won't have really lost at the end of the day. It's not a really terrible transfer window. I can deal with that. Canate was terrific against Arsenal. Quite happy with that. Reece, Liverpool's window's just gone from a 10 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10. I am Crute. This worries me defensively. Why? Why does it worry you defensively? Mate, we played against the second best team in the league yesterday, and they didn't really get any clear chances. I thought Canate was exceptional yesterday. Josh, FFS, Isak isn't worth that much money, says Archie. I disagree. I think he's absolutely worth that much money. Nick Nack, big pressure on Isak and Florian's shoulders with those huge fees. Steve McNair, I thought Gomez was off to Milan. But the reason he hasn't gone to AC Milan is because we knew there was always a small chance that Mark Gay wouldn't happen. So, like I said, you can't win them all. As Gav's just said there, damn right, you can't get them all. The Gay deal is off. So, it's frustrating that. It is frustrating, but I'm not too fussed. I can live with that. Dan Owen, I think he's worth more than it. Exactly, yeah, I was going to say, Dan, I think we've ripped Newcastle off for 125 million quid. I think we've ripped them off. That's a really, really good signing. But hey, we'll see. So, in terms of Liverpool, let's give them a score, because I feel like we've loitered on this one far too long. Given now that we know that the Mark Gay deal is off, right, I'd go 9 out of 10. I think the Gay deal would have made it a 10 out of 10, but I'm going to go 9 out of 10. Because I still think that is a wonderful, wonderful window that every Liverpool fan would have been delighted with at the start of it. So I'm still going to go 9 out of 10. Gay, sad that it hasn't happened, but I can live with it. We've still got Joe Gomez. That was the reason we didn't let Joe Gomez go to Milan. He was fantastic yesterday against Arsenal. I am happy with that. I'm no problem with that at all. Canate was terrific against Arsenal too. So, no panic. No panic at all. It's not great. It's not ideal. I would have liked him to come in, but it's all good. Steve McNair, Liverpool signed 3 players that are all better than any one player any other Prem club has signed this summer. 10 out of 10. Gav's highlights. Has Donnarumma gone through yet, Key? And the goalkeeper United one. Yes, Senna Lamens has gone through to Manchester United. I saw that. I don't know about Donnarumma. I believe Donnarumma has, because Ederson is in Turkey. Man City to sell Ederson to Fenerbahce if they land Donnarumma was the news earlier today. Donnarumma is in Manchester, and a deal sheet has been submitted for Donnarumma. So that's the situation as it stands. It's kind of the same situation as it was with Gay. City did submit a deal sheet for him. They have until 9 PM now to officially complete that. Whether or not it gets done, we don't know. But Liverpool, I'm going to give a 9 out of 10, and then we can move on. We'll go and have a look at another one. So, after Liverpool, it is Manchester City. Now, I haven't included Donnarumma on this one, or Ederson out, even though that does appear to have happened. So, City have brought in £176 million worth of talent, and they have sold €58.5 million worth of talent. I don't know why I keep changing between pounds and euros. It is all euros, sorry. So, I am going to go for City's window. What do we think? Reinders, Aitnori, Cherki, Trafford. Those are the 4 main first teamers they brought in. Reinders, Aitnori, Cherki, Trafford. Probably Donnarumma as well. 2 goalkeepers. It's rare you see that in a team in one window, isn't it? You're saying 7 out of 10, unknown. Liam Manning says 7 as well. Dan, with how much you've spent, I think you need to aim for the Champions League. Absolutely, yeah. I think you retain the title. I think we have to retain the title with what we've done, yeah. I am going to go for City. I think it's a 7 out of 10, but I think... No, it's not. It's not a 7 out of 10, is it? It's not. Again, if after City's year last year, City was so disappointing last year. I was expecting them to go big. I was expecting them to really have a good go at it, and it doesn't feel like they have. Does it? Does it you? I don't feel like it has. So I'm going to give them a 6. I'm going to give them the same as Arsenal. I feel like City and Arsenal have disappointed me because they've languished. They've not done what Liverpool have done. They've not really seized it. They've not jumped on it and gone for a big player. They've kind of flattered to deceive. So I'd go for 6 out of 10 for City. They've not lost anyone of major note. Obviously, De Bruyne are leaving on a free. But the only other ones are McAtee out, Couto out, Peroni out, and now obviously Ederson looking like he's going to Turkey. So yeah, I'm going to go 6 out of 10, same as you, Dan. Taylor H, Chelsea had a good window, not today, but overall good window. And Gav, have you done Chelsea's window? Yes, I have done Chelsea's window. I have given Chelsea a 6 out of 10 for the exact same reason as I've given Arsenal and City a 6 out of 10. I expected more. I expected you to do more, and don't feel like you have done. The defence is still a problem. The goalkeeper's still a problem. That was the problem at the end of the at the start of the window, and it isn't. Yeah, it's still the case now. Thomas Thornton, all right. It's annoying me that the gay deal is off. Yeah, me too, mate. It's annoyed us all, especially given it was so close to being like an absolutely perfect window. Glasner threatened to walk. Nick Nat Gundogan's gone to Turkey, yeah, and Akanji going to Milan as well. I didn't see Gundogan get done, but that would be a decent move. City getting him off the books because he wasn't really a starter for him anymore. And getting Akanji away. It means they're going to depend an awful lot more on that young lad Kusanov and Vitor Reis. You know, are these players ready to step up for City? It doesn't look like they are. Not just yet. They might well be, good players in time, but it doesn't look like they're ready for it yet. So City, I'm going to stick with a 6 out of 10. Let's go on to Manchester United. Manchester United. I understand they've got Senna Lamans in. I also understand they've sold Anthony for 22 million quid. Which is a big old loss, isn't it, on the player that they brought in. So they have effectively 120 million of incomings and 240 million of outgoings. No, 240 million of purchases, 120 million of sales. So they've spent 120 million net to get Sesko and Burmo, Cunha, Lamans. Does Lamans... I think Lamans has to start, doesn't he? He has to go in as a starter. Mateus Cunha and Burmo, Sesko. Sesko probably not quite ready just yet. But Cunha and Burmo, I think, are players who really push Manchester United on. So I am going to go for Manchester United. Have they improved categorically as a result of this window? Yes. I think you have to say they have done. Have they improved sufficiently to take them to the cusp of Europe where maybe we hoped they would be? I say we. I didn't hope they would, but their fans hoped they would be, where they hoped they would get back into the European equation. I think Man United have done an okay window. I think that's probably maybe a 7. Maybe even an 8. I like Manchester United's window. I'm one of the few to say that I think it's not a bad window at all. It's they could have done better. I think they needed a midfielder for sure, but I think that's not a bad window. They've managed to get rid of Højlund. They've managed to get rid of Rashford off the books. They've managed to move on some players. Still a lot of work to do in that regard, but I have to say I feel like United are moving in the right direction, and I don't like saying that as a Liverpool fan. Tempted to give him a bit more than a 7, sorry, maybe an 8. I just feel like Burmo and Cunha are real game-changing signings, and I like the signing of Lamans as well. I'm just a little bit disappointed they didn't add If they'd have added a midfielder or a defender, I probably would have pushed them up to an 8. But I'm going to give them a 7. If they'd have got someone like Baleba, I think that might have been a 9, to be honest. They would have got there. So I'm going to give United a 7. I think United have pushed on, undoubtedly. I think they'll be better than they were last season, albeit they need to maybe shift the manager out. They barely beat Burnley at home. I don't think that's anything. I honestly think that is entirely well, not entirely, but I think the manager's got a lot to account for, to explain in that regard. They have got Anthony out, they got Garnacho out, Sancho out, Højlund out. There's some big sales there at United that they didn't want. So I'm going to go for Man United, 7 out of 10. Gav's highlights: United fans gave their window between 4 and 6. So maybe I don't know, maybe I'm being bold then. I don't know. I think they're giving it between 4 and 6 maybe because they thought they would have expected a midfielder to come in that would have really, really pushed them on. And the fact they didn't get that in the end, I can understand why they're disappointed. But I would have gone 7 out of 10. Edward, Højlund's not a loan deal, mate. He's an obligation, 44 million euros. So yeah, it's Napoli will complete that signing next summer. Yorkshire Red still think a definite 7. I was going to say I do. I think 7's about right for United. Ben, opinions on Liverpool not getting Gay. I'm fine with it. Yeah, it's disappointing, of course, but I am pretty relaxed about it. It's not like we're stretched at the back. We've got Joe Gomez as our 4th choice centre back. We've got Canate, the young lad Leone as well. I still think there's enough there that Liverpool will be okay defensively. I'm not. And again, if I'm dead honest, I imagine it's probably going to be January. I think he comes in January. I think Palace are that determined to get something for him that he signs for Liverpool in January. So we actually probably only have to put up without him for maybe another 15 games. Half the season. By the time January comes, we'll get him. So I'm not worried. It doesn't get this far down the line with Gay going to someone else. So I imagine Liverpool sign him in Jan. Edward, obligation to buy, so it's a loan deal. But obligation, mate. Obligation means they have to buy him. So it's a sale. It just means the sale happens next summer, but it's a sale. They've got the cash. The cash is coming. Gav, we had an obligation to buy with Man United as well, and we know how that turned out. So obligation to buy don't mean anything anymore. No, it does. It does. The reason your obligation to buy didn't work was because Man United baked into it that you could, if you wanted to, outbuy the obligation. You could literally default on it and say, fine, we don't want him, but I'm going to pay a penalty. So you paid £5 million not to have the obligation, which it doesn't seem, based off what we've read, there isn't any of that with the Rasmus Højlund deal. He doesn't want to be at United. He wants to be, back in Italy. Manchester United don't want him. I don't see it, and obviously Napoli seem to be doing quite well. So I don't think there's any outcome where Rasmus Højlund goes back to United. Newcastle. Let's talk Newcastle. No expert FPL. Didn't Joe Gomez go somewhere? No, he didn't. He ended up staying at Liverpool. Archie, what do you think of Everton's transfer window? I've given Everton a 7 out of 10, which puts them... It was an okay window. It puts them amongst one of the better in the Premier League, but still not great. I feel like it's not quite scratched all the itches that Everton needed to scratch, if you know what I mean. So I give it a 7 out of 10 just because I think, there's some half decent signings in there, but I still expect Everton to be bottom half as a result of it, and they're not going to massively move up the table. But it could have been. I feel like it's a low. It's more like a high 6. It's a very high 6 than a 7. But I don't do 6.5s on this. Thomas Glasner threatened to leave, so he might sign a new deal. Gay, because he didn't want to lose his captain. No, listen, Gay's not signing a new deal. There's no way Gay signs a new deal at Palace. I can't see that happening. I can see Glasner maybe if he signs a new deal if Palace give him what he wants, but I reckon he threatened to walk. I can absolutely see that happening. Gav, was there any big deals across Europe today as well, or nah, not really? Not that I'm aware of. No, I don't think. I mean, to be honest, there's, across Europe there are transfer deadline days a little bit further on. Like they were saying, Turkey's I think another couple of days. Feels like it's all a little bit disjointed around Europe. Liam Manning, Newcastle has to be a 5 at most for me. Reese, surely Newcastle is like a 4. Right, and Paul Hexham says Newcastle terrible window has to be a 3. Well, let's look at Newcastle. So Newcastle got Voltemada, Wissa, Elanga, Ramsey, Tiao and Ramsdale in. They spent €240 million. They sold Isak, Lloyd Kelly, Longstaff, Wilson, and I think, did they sell Asula in the end? Did that actually get done? I don't know if it did. Asula deal is off, I believe. Yeah, apparently the Asula deal hasn't actually happened. Yeah, so Asula hasn't happened, so I need to delete that off there. So Asula didn't happen, which means they actually only got in about 160 million. Well, 170, yeah, 160, 170. So they spent about 70 million to get those players, and I think that again is not a great sign for Newcastle that they've not quite got the players in that they wanted to. That makes them a better side. I think if they'd sold Isak earlier in the summer, then they probably would have done. If they'd have sold to Liverpool in say June, they would have had a load of time and they'd have been able to get the ducks in a row. And I just think, I think that's probably a 5 out of 10. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Joe, we've had a brilliant window, 7 out of 10. 7? Paul, with all the players that stubbed Newcastle, how can it be higher than a 3? This is, well, you have to look at it from that way as well. Newcastle went in for a lot of players who quite publicly rejected them. They left everything to the very last minute. That's not a good look either. Voltemada, I think, is a big plus. Johan Wissa at 55 million quid. Really? 55? He's 29 in a couple of months' time. That feels astonishing, especially given, by the way, Newcastle's first bid for Johan Wissa was 25 million. They've paid 55 for him. I've never known that. Have you ever known that before, where a first ever bid is like 25 million quid and then they end up paying more than double for it? I am astonished by that. 55 million quid for Wissa is outrageous as far as I'm concerned. So, for me, I think 5 out of 10 is what I'm going to give Newcastle. I think it might be a high 5. It could be high 5. It could be a high 5. It could be a 6 potentially. But I would go for a 5. Gav, no, that's euros. Gav, sorry, it's euros. So we paid £125, 125 million pounds for Isak. 144 euros is what that works out at. But it is £55 million for Wissa, which works out at 63.6 million euros at the current exchange rate. So Newcastle 5 out of 10 is what I would give them. And then Forest, here we go. Let's look at Forest. So, Forest, we've got Amari Hutchinson, Dan Ndoye, Callum Wendo, McAtee, Igor Jesus, Savona, and obviously Douglas Luiz in on loan. They've not really lost anyone major apart from Elanga. So again, feels like a really decent window for Forest. They brought a lot of players in. So, I don't know. For me, that just feels like Forest have had not a bad window, but probably not a great one either. Feels like given Forest have gone a bit mad this window. Yeah, they've signed loads. Yeah, 4 players today apparently. A lot of players in and out at Forest, but it just feels a bit chaotic, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like there's a lot of joined up thinking at Forest. Like, ideally, you want a team with a very, very clear plan, a real strategy. It doesn't look like there is one at Forest, does there? It feels like they're bouncing from one player to the next, and Marinakis is going, oh yeah, we'll sign him. Just like agents just pushing players on him, and he's just taking it. So, that's crazy. Crazy. So I'm going to go for Nottingham Forest. Are they a better team as a result? of this window when they came into it versus when they're going out of it? Are Forest a better team now? I don't think they are. I think they've got a lot of new players in and a lot of new faces, and maybe you could argue the squad's a bit bigger. I don't know if it's better though. So I'm going to give that, I think it's a 6 out of 10. Again, high five. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for Forest. Not particularly brilliant, but I would say 6. And Nick Knack says, I don't know had a say in any of them, but they're definitely stronger. Thomas, who have Forest signed today? They signed a lad called Cuibano from Botafogo again, would you believe? Like about the 9th player. That probably do an X1 of Forest players that have signed from Botafogo. Gav's highlights when Hutchinson is your dearest signing. It's not looking good, bro. Nick Nat could cause problems for Forest further down the line. The sheer numbers. Well, that was what they were falling out about, weren't they? They were falling out, Nuno and Edu, over the sheer numbers that were involved. He didn't want that squad size. So, yeah, Forest 6 out of 10. Right, hang on a sec. So, next up is Sunderland. Now, Sunderland have signed quite well this summer, I think. They've spent 165 million euros and they have brought in 51 million euros in player sales through the likes of Bellingham and Tom Watson going to Brighton. That's probably it, to be honest. I don't think there was anyone else they really sold. But they've brought some really good quality players in, I think. Diarra looks a real top signing. Xhaka, I think, is a good player to bring in. Talbi and Siddiqui as well. I'm pretty interested to see how they get on. And then the likes of Rufs and Mandava, Aldrete. They brought Guiu in, but Guiu's gone straight back to Chelsea, haven't they? So I'm intrigued now to see exactly how Sunderland get on. But Sunderland, I think they have strengthened. I think they've strengthened sufficiently well that they might end up staying up as a result of it. So, yeah, I'd give that an 8 out of 10. I think Sunderland might well have won the transfer window so far outside of Liverpool. I'm going to give Sunderland an 8 out of 10 because I think they've given themselves a really good fight of it, a really good chance of staying up. So 8 out of 10 for Sunderland is what I am going for. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking. The graphic. Oh, bloody hell. My graphics have gone skew if. Oh, no. Spent all day on them and they've all gone skew if right at the last minute. Right. You're not having any more graphics. The last 4 teams are going to be no graphics, but I've done all the rest. I'll put them all on socials anyway. I'm updating them onto the socials later, so it'll be on Twitter. But for the remainder of this video, you're not getting Tottenham, West Ham or Wolves graphics. Or Sunderland. But will all Sunderland's new signings fit in? No, well, kind of for the same reasons as Forest. There's obviously going to be some that just don't quite work out. But I think there's been enough brought in there at Sunderland that you'd look at them and think, they're going to stay. They are going to stay up. I think Sunderland have done enough. So I'm going to go for Sunderland to stay up, and I'll give them an 8 out of 10. That's my verdict on Sunderland. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking. Let's take a look at Spurs, who I think have also had a bloody good window, it has to be said. Spurs have spent 175 net. 175 million net Spurs. 35 million they've sold. That's mainly through getting rid of Heung-min Son for 22 million euros, which seems like not a bad sale. They also sold Højbjerg as well to Marseille permanently. But other than that, they've brought in Xavi Simons, Mohamed Kudus, Vuskovic, Danzo and Tell, who were all signed in January. So is it fair to say Spurs have actually only really brought in like 3 players? They have, haven't they, really? There's only really João Palhinha, Kudus and Xavi Simons. And the rest of them were signed in January. So Kudus, Simons and João Palhinha. How transformative is that for Spurs? I think Palhinha has already proved to be, and Kudus I think could be. I would have liked to have seen them go and get a centre forward. Xavi Simons is a good signing. I think I'm teetering on 7 out of 10 with Spurs. Feels like it's not quite. Yeah, they've not done enough. They've not done enough. It could be a high 6. It's a high 6, but I'm going to give Spurs a 7 out of 10. It's not a bad window. It's not a bad one. Palhinha's transformative. Kudus could well be, and I think Xavi Simons in future, but I would give them a 7 out of 10. Kolo Muani. Kolo Muani. How have I forgot Kolo? Yeah, Kolo Muani. I'm sat here saying they need a striker. Of course they have. They just signed one on deadline day. Moron. Kolo Muani. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, perfect. Perfect then. Oh, that could be an 8 then. That could be an 8. I'm changing it. I'm changing it to an 8 because I think Spurs get Champions League now. I think Spurs get top 5. Reese says, Key, just give them a 0 because it's Spurs. I completely forgot about Kolo Muani, sorry. And it's literally in front of me here on the telly. Spurs signed Kolo Muani from PSG. So I will go for Spurs. Kolo Muani, 8 out of 10. That makes a big change for them. And then last 2, West Ham. So West Ham have made a couple of signings today. They've brought in, or yesterday, didn't they? They signed the young fella, what's his name? Magassa. Sungutu Magassa from Monaco, who is a very leggy, rangy, athletic midfielder who can get up and down the pitch, can get round the pitch. I like the signing of Diouf, and I like the signing of Matheus Fernandes. West Ham are in a bit of a crisis, but I low-key rate that window. Matheus Fernandes, Diouf, and Magassa. Even Kyle Walker-Peters isn't bad. Callum Wilson on a free. For where West Ham Mads Hermansen, the goalkeeper, I'm not amazed with. Jean-Claude Todibo, they agreed that in January anyway, so that was always going to happen. But Wilson, Kyle Walker-Peters, Magassa we'll see. But I think the signings of Diouf, Fernandes really push them on. It's better than 6. I think that's a good window for West Ham, and if Graham Potter doesn't turn it round, he'll be gone. Hence why, it's a 7 out of 10 window, and if Graham Potter gooses it up, then he'll be gone, because that is a good window. I think West Ham are better as a result of that window. So I'm going to put West Ham 7 out of 10. They've not had a terrible window, which I'm sure there'll be some hammers going, what are you on about? But I think West Ham have done okay. Some of the signings that they've made there do move West Ham forward. And then last but not least is Wolverhampton Wanderers, who probably decimated the most out of all teams. They have really struggled, haven't they? They've lost Cunha, they've lost Aït-Nouri, Semedo going as well on a free transfer. Even Sarabia on a free transfer. He contributed quite a bit last year, but Ryan Aït-Nouri and Cunha and Semedo. 3 big first teamers who played an awful lot for Wolves last year, and they've brought in the likes of Jorgen Strand Larsen, who very nearly left himself before the end of the window, a Rokadari Lopez. They've brought in Krejci, the centre-back / centre-mid, Chachua, Muller Wolf. It's a bad window, innit? That's a bad window. Yeah, I think Wolves, that's a window that takes you down. Or at least drags you down there. I think that might be a 5. I think that might be a 5 out of 10. Obviously, it could change. I think Krejci's not a bad signing. A Rokadari could well kick on, and it's a result that they've kept hold of Jorgen Strand Larsen. Do you know what? No, that's the winner for me. They've kept hold of Jorgen Strand Larsen. 6 out of 10. That in itself is probably just enough to keep Wolves up. If they'd have sold him, they were goosed. They were knackered. So I'm going for Wolves 6 out of 10. So therefore, the real winners in this window are, in my first, if we're giving a gold, silver and bronze for this window, I would give Liverpool gold. I would give Sunderland silver, and I would give Spurs bronze. I think they are your top three. I think they are probably the best three. And then rock bottom of the class would be Burnley, Leeds and Palace. Yeah, Burnley, Leeds and Palace haven't had a great window. It's such... It is maybe a little bit harsh to say Wolves 6 out of 10. They might be a 5. But there's just some teams there who have struggled. And it does just... T28, last rating of the night is Kee's new haircut. Jesus Lord. I don't need any more abuse, mate. So, Gav's highlights, West Ham beat. Best signing was keeping Paquetá. Well, obviously, yeah, keeping Paquetá. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, very nearly went to Villa, of course. Torn says it's a lifeline for Gomez and Leone that Gay hasn't signed. Very true. I mean, Leone, I think, was always going to get games. He will do at some point in the season. Gomez, I'm glad we've kept hold of. I wouldn't have wanted him to go like this. It's not... Gomez has been Liverpool's longest serving player. He deserves a testimonial. I don't want him sneaking out the back door. That feels shameless. That I wouldn't want that for Joe Gomez. He's he's been a good servant to Liverpool, and you shouldn't just be pushing him out the door to AC Milan so you can get the next fella in. I don't like that. There's something about that wouldn't have sat right with me anyway. So I would have hoped that if Liverpool did sign Mark Gay, we wouldn't have sanctioned a deal to let Joe Gomez go. I don't like that, and I'm glad that Joe Gomez maybe gets a little bit longer at the club and gets an opportunity to say farewell in the right way. He's been a fabulous player for Liverpool for a really long time. Won everything there is to win. He played under Brendan Rodgers. He played under Klopp. And now he's playing really well under Slot as well. When he comes in, when he's fit. I actually think there's a part of me, when he's fit, we actually don't need Mark Gay. If Joe Gomez was fit all the time, I couldn't really care less. Gay's a great player, don't get me wrong, but Gomez is not a problem. The biggest issue with Gomez is fitness. If you said to Liverpool fans, Gomez is going to be fit all the time, I've waved a magic wand, Joe Gomez is going to be fit all the time, will you keep him? Yes, absolutely, no problems. Ollie Marley, what games are you doing this week? They're on the schedule, mate. I've got 2 National League games coming up. Gav's highlight to Spurs got Eze as well, and they would be second behind Liverpool, in my opinion. That's true. Yeah, that's very true. Tone works well with Virgil. Well, yeah, some might say that Liverpool's best ever defence was Virgil and Gomez. Lol, Joey, it's not even a ridiculous thing to say. A fit Gomez is phenomenal. He is, isn't he? Paul Hexham, do you want to bet, Key? Liverpool, yes. Sunderland, no way. Relegated. Spurs, no. What do you mean, Spurs, no? I don't know what we mean. What are we betting? Harry Maguire, Joe Gomez has been given one more chance to score a goal for us by some divine intervention. And Liam Manning, this won't affect Gay. He's such a nice lad. Yeah, listen, Gay, I still really, really do want us to sign Gay. Don't get me wrong. And I do think at some point Gomez will leave. Maybe in January, maybe in the summer. I don't know, but yeah. Spurs came very close to signing. Yeah, as you said, the Eze, Gibbs White, both of those would have really helped Spurs. But I actually think they do sign maybe Gibbs White next summer. Gibbs White will move on, I'm sure. Paul Hexham, how deep are your pockets? You know how deep my pockets are, mate. Not very is the answer. I've not got 2 8s rubbed together at the minute. AVFC, thoughts on us signing Harvey? Good luck with him. He's absolutely fantastic player. Really sad to see Harvey Elliott go. I would have liked to keep him, if I'm honest. Like, selfishly, I would have liked to keep him. He's a great player. He just desperately needs games, and he desperately deserves games as well. He's a proper red, Harvey Elliott. A really good Liverpool player who's contributed a lot. And the problem is, he excels in the position that we have arguably the best player in the world right now, Mo Salah. So, like, that says everything about Harvey Elliott. You know, I think if we could have played him somewhere else. In a different time, he probably stays at Liverpool for his entire career. Sadly, we've got Mo Salah in front of him. So, yeah, we'll see. Edward Key, why haven't we announced him yet? Because it's collapsed, mate. Yeah, it's all collapsed. I'm kidding. It's not collapsed. It takes time, Edward. You've just got to be patient. Very patiently, these things. The photos have been taken. He's at the training ground. He's actually on a plane to Sweden right now. It's done. It's done and dusted. Listen, once you've took pictures of Isak, then you've got to give that to the marketing team. The marketing team have then got to decide, you know, let's put all of the imagery together. Let's, you know, get the video edited and all that sort of stuff. Once you've filmed the video and done all the pictures, and then he's got to do his interview, then you've got to edit all that together. That can take an hour or two. So he'll be announced. Don't worry, it will happen. Reece, Isak number 9 apparently. Yeah, well, yeah, he's going to be number 9. We've left it for him. Paul Hexam, right. I think now United have got a keeper. They'll be in a European spot. Then Brighton. No. AVFC said, I heard Elliot knows where the net is and can score from quite far out. He can, yes. He scored big goals for Liverpool at times as well. Got us a winner at Selhurst Park. Got us a winner at the Parc des Princes against PSG last year, don't forget. He's popped up with some really big moments. Edward, all that takes about 20 minutes if you know what you're doing. I think you've got to be patient, mate. You've got to be patient. Rangers have signed striker Yusuf Chermiti from Everton. Tone, probably save it for after the international break. Stop winding him up, Tone. They're not going to do that. You just need to not... Like a kid at Christmas, just relax, for God's sake. We know it's going to get done. Stop panicking. Wait, it's going to get done. AVFC, sorry, we've done that one. Maguire Lover, we should sign a pre-contract agreement for Jan with Gay in case of a swoop-in. I think Gay seems a nice enough fella. Based off all the interviews we've seen, I don't think Gay turns to someone else at this point. He's come down the line with Liverpool and Arne Slot, hasn't he? So I think Gay goes to Liverpool probably in January. I imagine January comes and we'll give Palace 15 million for him. And 15 million's better than nothing. So I expect we sign him in Jan. And maybe Joe Gomez goes in Jan. But yeah, there's a lot of paperwork to do as well with signings. Obviously, there's deals still going through right now. Once you've submitted a deal sheet at 7 o'clock, you've got till 9 o'clock to actually get it completed, which suggests it takes 2 hours, doesn't it? From just submitting the deal sheet, it can take 2 hours to get all the paperwork done, all the contracts signed, the money transferred, or the first initial bit of money transferred. All that stuff has to be done and agreed and documented before they can officially rubber stamp the transfer. And then they can do the photos and the videos and the announcements and the marketing and all that stuff. It takes time. You just got to relax. So there you go. They are my ratings for the Premier League's transfer window. Edward, he's been there since the early hours, Key. What you on about? What do you mean he's not been there since the early hours? He's not been there since the early hours. Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. That is my transfer rankings, Premier League rankings for this summer's transfer window and all that good stuff. I will be back tomorrow night for the National League. We're going to be watching... Is it Morecambe? Is it Morecambe tomorrow? I think it is, isn't it? Yes, Morecambe against Forest Green. Morecambe very nearly going bust. They nearly lost their licence as a football club, Morecambe Town. Not even Morecambe Town, is it? It's just Morecambe. They nearly lost their licence, Morecambe, and they are playing Robbie Savage's Forest Green Rovers in the National League tomorrow night. So if you want to watch a little bit of live football, make sure you've liked, make sure you've subscribed. Head over to Premier League Dad on YouTube and subscribe over there as well if you want to. That'd be really helpful, really nice. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow night. I'll be live at 6:30. 6:30 tomorrow night for some live football. So if you want to watch some National League, I'll see you then. Take it easy. Have a good Monday night. See you soon.